Lucien DeBlois, awesome to have you here on the Raw Knuckles podcast.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Raw Knuckles. Hosted by Chris Nilan.
Nilan going ballistic. I love it. He's going to hit his own players. He's a madman. He's a freaking madman. Look at him going to town. That'll be a suspension. That'll be a fine. Bring them all out, Nilan, you freak.
It's going to be sick.
God, it's been a while, but I think back of our days, not only here in Montreal, but in New York. And just some great memories, some fun times here in Montreal, winning the Cup and with the Rangers. But hey, I want to go back. You grew up in Joliette, and being a French Canadian, Joliette, Marcel Bonin, right?
Yeah, that was
former Hab.
He was my idol.
So, right, was he like the talk of the town growing up in Joliette, Marcel?
Oh yes, for sure, yes, and he was very involved. Actually, after his career, he won 4 cups, 3 with the Montreal Canadiens, 1 with Detroit, and so he was just an icon in the Joliette population and whatever community. He became a cop too right after his career. He was a sharpshooter. He's got so many stories or whatever. He was a sharpshooter. When he played for Detroit, he used to go and, to make a long story, he used to go to the police department and became a sharpshooter, stuff like that. And, the only bad part, I never saw him play live because I was too young when he retired. I mean, but I used to go and watch him play on the Sunday after the morning, actually in the pickup league in the arena, and just he was just unbelievable at the time.
It's funny.
So he's a big idol, a big icon for the community. He was close to Maurice Richard, close to Jean Béliveau. And Dickie Moore, and they used to come in Montreal and Joliette to play golf at the nice golf course in Joliette, as you know. You're there a couple of times, and it's so he's just been an icon, coaching, making his path to the community.
It's funny. I remember he used to come in the room, and when we were playing, and he used to lift up his pants from the bottom and show everybody his calves. His calves were like huge. Not his calves, his
calf muscle.
It's unbelievable.
He used to
his
do
calf
that.
muscle.
He used to do that all the time. He used to show me, not show me when I remember one of the first time I ever met him at the arena. He roll up his pants like that and pull down his socks. Come on, kids, skate. You'll get some calves like that when you skate.
His calves were bigger than John Cordick's biceps.
Yeah, that's right.
They were huge.
Just to tell you, that was.
So that'll give you an idea. But so Lou, growing up, Sorel, in Joliette. When was your first game? Obviously a Habs fan, but when was the first time you got to go to the Forum, or did you?
I never, until I was a teenager, till about 17 years old, I've never been to the Montreal Forum to see the Canadian play.
Just TV, you watched the game?
Just TV.
Yeah.
My first time at the Forum was I was 12 years old, and I went to see the Montreal Canadiens play them. Régent Houle, Gilbert Perreault, and Moose Dupont, and Mark Tardif, and Gary Conley, and all these guys were on the edge. They were just unbelievable. Actually, they were the talk of the town and everything. So they had like 17,000 at the Forum at the time, which only holds 16 something, and it was just unbelievable. But that was the first time I went there, and then the other time I went to I was maybe 15 or 16, I went to see a practice. And I always remember Frank Mahovlich skating like Scotty Bowman was running the team and all that. Frank Mahovlich, Flower, and just like one of those yum practice we used to have, one of those open practice. So I was invited to go and get there. So that was the only time I touched really close to the forum to see a live action until I was like 17, 18 years old. Before that, but we saw a lot of the players in Joliette, like I said, with Marcel at the golf course. Bobby Rousseau was a pro golfer in Joliette at the time in the early '60s. So sometimes to go and see some players and try to be a caddy sometimes, but I was not into golfing that much then.
Right at the time. Yeah. But so growing up in Joliette, playing minor hockey, and when does it become apparent that you're going to play in the Q?
In the Q, it started when I was about 14. I was playing midget. They didn't have the triple A's or whatever, but excuse me. And I was playing 14 midget with my buddies and all that, and they had a junior B team in Joliette that just had the first year, and I was one of the best players, if not the best player in midget or whatever. So I played at 14 about 6 games with the junior B team, and then Drummondville in the Q, Drummondville Rangers at the time.
Yeah,
came and saw us and see my dad and I, and wanted me really bad. So they invited me to their training camp when I was 15, the year after. So I went to their training camp, and then I stayed there. They kept me for about a month and a half. I was in school in a billet and everything, and I was going to stay there. And but then with the rules at 15, I couldn't play for them because I was not local. So I went back to play. Junior B in my hometown with my buddies in Joliette, and we played in Montreal all the time. So that's where really I started to think I get a chance to play in the Q anyway.
Yeah,
not the pros yet though. I was not that big then at the time.
Did they have the draft back then for the Q? And
yes.
Is it Sorel drafted you? Was that the following year? Was that it? They started drafting
15,
players?
So when I was at 15 in Drummondville, that was in 1972. I came back to Joliette, and during the summer '73, that's where I got drafted. They had a draft, and there was a special draft. They had like the 15 years old or going on 16, where if you were around the 35 miles radius of the city, they could kind of draft you and protect you at the same time or whatever, but they had to draft you. So
why was that rule? Was that so they didn't have the billet guys 35 miles around the city? Or?
That's why Mike Bossy played in Montreal, Robert Picard played and Bossy played for Laval. I mean, it was like just they couldn't make arrangement and take them. And but Robert Picard played in Junior de Montreal, and so was Normie Dupont and all that. They were like just local because they were guys from Montreal.
So Drummondville couldn't draft them or one of the other teams.
They made my dad to move. They find him a job, and they moved my dad to Drummondville in the spring, and they drafted me. So I'm probably the only guy in the Q ever. It's not a claim of fame, but I was drafted twice in the first round. First overall by Sorel and 8th overall by Drummondville or something like that.
So
and then Sorel was the GM, general manager at the time. Rodrigue Lemoine was such an icon in the Quebec League. Then there was like a lawyer, a big lawyer, and he came to Drummondville actually to see my dad and me and all that. And he says, if you don't play the Sorel, you're not going to play anywhere. So, he cut up a little check on the table, and he says, you got to move to Sorel. So
did you have a choice like that? You were drafted first, and then you were drafted by Drummond. You didn't have a choice where you could
go.
No.
I could have said no. I don't want to go to Sorel, but that would have been, at the time, like you remember in the '70s, you don't fight too much of the the management of the teams or whatever.
Yeah,
even
they
the
had all the
juniors, because
control.
you're always afraid that they're gonna cut you. They got to push you somewhere, and you're not gonna be able to play anywhere or whatever. So the decision was to move. Actually, it was a great move for me because I went to Sorel, and they had the best team in junior hockey that year with Pierre Larouche and Jacques Cassette, and they had Pierre Larouche had beat Pierre Mondoux, actually Pierre Mondoux, Bob Ritchie, they had a lot of good players.
Was Moose there when you got there, or no? They were gone.
Moose was there, yeah.
He was
I
there
played
when
2
you got
years
there.
with Pierre.
Okay.
We played on the same line. We were on the third line. So it was a good move because the year after, Drummondville kind of folded for about 5 or 6 years, and then they came back as a Voltager or whatever. But so anyway, so it was a good move. I went to Sorel. They had a big, tough team and everything. And so and I played on the third line. So it was good. It turned out pretty good.
So what happens to your poor dad in this? They get him to move to Drummondville from Joliette. Would he
My
stay
dad
in
was
Drummondville, or did he?
Well, you met my dad. He was
Yeah.
already
We're going to talk about that day.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
Yeah, he was already like my dad when I was 16. He was kind of in his early 60 and mid 60s already. So he was older. Like he had me on the late side. So
Yeah.
he was. He was going. He didn't have a great job in Joliette or whatever. So Drummondville got him to give him a good job, and we moved there, tried to get me and all that. So it turned out that he had to move back. He had to move back too. And
did he move back right away? Like when you went to Sorel, did he leave Drummondville right away?
Yeah,
when he realized you weren't going to play there.
He kept working there for a bit, and then by September, whatever, he moved back and all that.
So you go to Sorel, and is there any easy way to get? And I kind of know the geography of it a bit, but is there any easy way to get from Joliette to Sorel?
There's the easiest way is through
take a boat across.
Yeah, Berthierville, Saint Ignace.
Is there a ferry?
There's a ferry. Yeah, there's a ferry every half hour.
How long does it take?
It takes about 15 minutes to cross.
Oh, that's all.
Yeah, just it's a big. Well, it's a ferry now. I think at the time there was a ferry half an hour in Sorel, and Saint Ignace was every hour. So, but now I think they got 2 ferries going back and forth. So it's every half hour or whatever.
So did your dad get a chance to come over and see you play all the time?
Well, actually, my
That's
dad kind
awesome.
of moved in Sorel for a while and all that. So I lived with him because he found a little job there, and then my mother died. I was really young, and all my brothers are older than me. My youngest brother towards me is Gerard. He's like 5 years older. And the oldest is 10 years difference. And they were all in college, university, married and everything. So he was by himself or whatever. So he came with me, and we stayed together for a couple of years.
That's cool having your dad there. So
Yeah.
that you had a hell of a junior career. You put some numbers up, no question. It's around 30 goals, 46, 56. And when does it become apparent to you that, I could be going to the NHL? I mean, that was your goal, I'm sure, right? You wanted to go to the NHL one day?
It was a dream of everybody. When I was young, I had my room was plastered with a picture of hockey players from the Canadiens, from different teams, everything. I love baseball too. I played a lot of baseball too, but I had a couple of baseball players too.
But when does it become apparent playing junior that, I got a chance here?
Well, you never know until I think when I get about 18 years old, that's where it really started to, the first year, I played with guys that were like just so dominant that I said, wow, I'll never be as good as these guys. I mean, Pierre Mondoux scored over 60 goals that year, and he's playing on the third line. He was playing the power play on the point. But Pierre Larouche had 92 goals, Jacques Cassette 88, Michel Bergeron. Michel Desel, the same thing. Michel Bergeron. Like my first year, I said, "Wow, I'm a long way from these guys." And they all got Michel Bergeron, not the coach.
I know. I played with him my first year in Halifax.
Yeah,
Crazy Bergie.
Barzine, we used to call him. He was a heck of a player. I mean, he scored
35 as a rookie in Detroit.
Detroit, yeah.
Yep.
So he was a heck of a player. On and off the ice, I should say.
Yeah.
But this is what, that's so you say, well, I don't know if even Bob Ritchie played for Philly and Detroit and all that. Like I played, so we had like veteran teams and all that, and all 19 years old, 18 years old guys. So I said, well, I'm a long way. So it really hit me when I was 18 years old. Like, I had the chance, and they were talking about, the thing with LaRouche, that year 74, that's the first year the NHL drafted players under 20 years old. 19 years old or under.
Yeah.
So that's where LaRouche went, Wilf Paymont and all these guys, So they all went in. And LaRouche, when he was such a great player, I'm not sure if he was not the rookie of the year that year. I think there was another guy, but he was like, he scored 30-some goals or whatever. So I figure, and these guys were in the class of Guy Lafleur and all that. So well, maybe I got a chance, but I'm a long way still.
Yeah. So we talk about Michel Bergeron, not the coach, the hockey player. Yeah. And I got to tell you a couple stories. Yeah. I remember training camp, my first training camp in Montreal, 79. Michel Bergeron, we're at the hotel, and my first foray into Quebec and French language, and I didn't know anything coming from Boston. I just knew the Canadiens, and I hated them. But Michel Bergeron's there, and the coach that year in Halifax was going to be Bert Templeton, who was a real disciplinarian, and he was a tough coach, right? Mm-hmm. And Bergeron, I guess he came in at like 4 o'clock in the morning in Montreal during training camp. And he fucking give it to him. He was drunk, Bergie, going to play them first couple games in training camp. He was half in the wrap. He showed up. And then, he's a goal scorer. Montreal wants to give him a go. And he goes to Halifax. Oh, my God. It was constantly like Bergie. Templeton would give him crap about back checking or playing hard. And I remember Michel Bergeron going, "Fucks this, fucks Bergie, fucks Bert." He says, "Fucks Bert." He says, "Me, I'm just here to score the goal. I'm not here to play the defense. I'm here just to score the goal." I'm going, "Who the fuck is this guy?" I was like, that was my introduction to pro hockey. Yeah, it was a beauty. I love Michel. Funny bastard.
He wasn't the greatest skater. He had a great set of mitts, and he was and he could shoot the puck. And he was really strong in the corner.
Was he with you in Sorel?
Yeah, he played my first year. I still see him once in a while. Every summer it seems like.
Did he become a butcher or something?
Yeah, he went to Chicoutimi. He's from Chicoutimi in that area. Yeah. He's the one. He's known as like the Buffalo Bill of the Chicoutimi area. He became a butcher, and then he started the business of chicken wings actually.
Okay.
Wings are like that's why
it's unbelievable, like the characters in the game, and he was certainly one of them. And you played with LaRouche, and I say it to this day. People ask me, who was the guy? The guy, a lot of guys had great hands. Gretzky, Lemieux, all these guys were great. Pierre LaRouche had the sweetest pair of hands of anybody I played with. Like I'm telling you,
yeah, like I've been saying that.
I think,
yeah. You're right. You're definitely right.
I put my money on him in a penalty shot. Like today in the shootout, he was like.
I put him in the same category as Mario Lemieux,
right?
For talent wise, hands and talent wise, but he's not in the same category as maybe in the sense of his desire to perform whatever to be the best, but. talent-wise, he's probably unbelievable. I've seen him do things in junior that nobody has ever seen.
I love Pierre. I remember my first year, I come up here. After my first year, I come up to play softball in the summer, and I went out with him one night, and I was like, oh, my God. LaRoche, he took me out. He showed me. It was funny. LaRoche, but
he used to say, I remember what he used to say to you when he played. He says, if I give you the puck at the first time, it's because I made a mistake. Give it to me so you repair my mistake.
I remember when we played them in the playoffs, the year we won the Cup, we're in Madison Square Garden, and I'm out there against them. And he says to me, hey, Knuckles, how you? I said, Pierre, fuck off. And he was like,
I remember that.
I told him, fuck off. He was like, he thought we were going to be buddies, because I played with him at first. I couldn't believe what hands. Anyway, so
he had a heck of a
years,
playoff that year, and one of the reasons is he played for Hershey the year before.
Yeah, they sent his ass
all
down.
The Flyers. They beat the Flyers. The Flyers were really tough that year. That's the year after they won 30 games in a row. They beat the Flyers that year in the playoffs.
Yeah.
He knew Ekstall. He knew everybody that played for the Flyers.
They're all buddy. Hey, and then he sticks it right up your ass.
But you're right. What a player! I tell you what, he's talented and everything. Had the chance to play with him in the pros too, and with the Rangers. And too bad his back was giving up on him.
Yeah.
But what a player! I remember one time, and even as a golfer, he was a pro golfer. Like he was a scratch golfer. I don't know if you were there one time. His back was hurting and everything, and we played in Rye, and he's driving with his Corvette and all that, and then he sees us on one of the tee off near the road, and he stopped, parked the car in the street, came in he had flip flops on. I said, I'm going to hit one ball. I'm going to hit one ball. He hit one ball. He like he crunched it like down the middle.
Just talented, uber
talented.
talented. Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, LaRoche, he was fun, Pierre. Oh God, the memory. So Lou, think about the draft today.
Yeah.
And you playing junior, your draft year comes up, and Again, you didn't go to the draft back then. In my year, I got a letter in the mail 2 weeks later. I always say this. The Habs drafted me. I got a letter 2 weeks later saying, "Oh, you can come to training camp." But your draft year, were you expecting it, one, and then were you expecting to go so high, and then two, were you shocked when you went before Bossy? I don't know.
I was shocked just being drafted in the early
in the first round.
In the first round,
eighth overall.
8 overall. I was shocked. There was rumors that, but you never know until it happens or whatever. So I was surprised that Mike. The big surprise was Mike, but. Everybody that saw Mike play junior, I mean, he was such underestimated by the scouts and because Mike never played with great teams, but he always scored over 70 goals every year. He
it's unbelievable.
Have 1 year under 70 goals in junior.
Crazy.
And he didn't have like a Mario Lemieux at center, or he didn't have like great players to go with.
So Laval didn't have a lot of good players back then.
Well, they did, but not like they did.
That one guy that.
Yeah, he had like good players with him, but not like as a team. They never won. I don't think they never won more than the second round in the playoffs or whatever. So, but just to tell you that he was a good player. So, but. You never know how it goes, and Mike went 16 or 15 or whatever it was that year, and
he went 15.
Yeah, it's unbelievable when you think about it. But I was so excited and everything. Usually the draft was always in Montreal, but there was not too many guys. They were like people. It was not like the draft there used to be, like in the NHL where they bring the kids and all that. But my year when I got drafted was funny because this was the first year that they did a draft by phone. So I'm sitting at home and waiting for a phone call. So this is
and not on your cell phone.
No, there was no cell phone and all that, and So I got a call on the 8th, and through John Ferguson called me with
Fergie.
Fergie called me. So it was oh wow, that was I was really excited, that Roger Bear, Jean Rattel, like Camille Henry that played there, all the great players, Vic Hadfield and all that. Carl Venet was there, Phil Esposito at the time, and all that. So
Dale Rolfe.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The name. So that
Ron
77,
Harris.
77, 78, you play 71 games, you scored 22 goals, a rookie. Like, hello. Good numbers.
Yeah. I was on a tear for a while too. Like I started slow. I hurt my hand I hurt my left hand, and then I started playing. And before I had some, doubts early on. Plus, I was not speaking English very well.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. How difficult was that for you? Like, listen, I come up here, at least people spoke English here, or they would with you. But you going from Sorel and growing up in Joliette, going to New York the first time for training camp, you must have been like
oh yeah.
what was that like? You'd fly down there, you get off the plane. How was that?
Even Joliette is not that far from Montreal, and Sorel either. Just Montreal for me was a big city, really, really big city. So you end up in New York City, right down Manhattan and all that, and it was like I was in awe, and there, So the language barrier was like, I took some lessons during the summer. I could speak a little bit, but it's to understand. The first time I talked to Nicky Foutiou, I couldn't understand a word.
Well, I still can't understand Nick.
That was the accent, the dialect. Some of the guys from out west, from Canada, from Ontario, like Pat Hickey, as an example, was like a really deep voice roar, and Irish guy. Some guys had potatoes in their mouth, so I couldn't understand, and I was not. But I had some help because Ron Duguay was French, as you know, French. So I was roommate early on with Duran and Carol.
So is Dukes totally bilingual?
Yeah. Dukes went to school. He went to he did all his elementary school, and I went to. I'm not sure if he did a couple of years in French school. I don't know, in high school or whatever.
Yeah.
But his mother was his father is French, mother is English. But he kept his French. Even he had I think it's RDS. I guess that they got him. And I told him, "You're good enough. You should be going, even if you use some English words or whatever." So he did some interview in French. He's pretty good, actually. He's pretty good. So I ended up like with him a little bit, and Carl Venet was there, and the coach was Jean-Guy Talbot.
Jean-Guy.
Oh, that was Jean-Guy was the coach.
Right, he played with Fergie, right? He played with Fergie.
Fergie, but I learned quickly and all that. But my first year, it took me a long time I got hurt in the language barriers, to get back to that. And then I got a little bit on the tear, and then I got sick just after Christmas. I got like a virus or something. I went to the hospital. I had to stay in the hospital for a couple of days, and I came back after that, and I was weak. I came back too early. I should have just taken another week or whatever. And then it took me a little bit of. So it was hard coming back from that. But and the toughest thing was Mike was already at 50 already.
Yeah,
with
right.
Long Island, with the Islanders. So the pressure was like the comparison and all that. So wow, they took the wrong guy. Wow.
Well, that's okay.
There's a lot of guys. There's 14 teams that took the wrong guy too.
Yeah. That's all okay because Mike Crombie, who was picked 5 overall, turned out to be a checking forward. Right, Mike Crombie, a good player, but when you think he was 5 overall,
some great players.
Barry Beck, but Pank was picked number 3 in your year, right? Robert Picard,
Jerry Gillis, 4.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
so next.
In
Yeah, go
that
ahead.
draft, I said this in the draft year, the first round that year. There's two guys that made the Hall of Fame, and so not too bad.
Yeah.
And for me, I made the Hall of Shame anyway. So.
No, you had a great career.
No,
Listen.
listen. But there's Doug Wilson and Mike. Obviously, Mike was just Mike was an exceptional, and nobody really noticed him, but he was an exceptional. That's what he was like, an exceptional player.
So, that next year, 78, 79, did you start in the AHL, or what went on there with the Rangers?
I started with the Rangers, but that's the year Donnie Murdoch got suspended.
Okay.
My first year when I came in with the Rangers, Donnie Murdoch got caught at Toronto airport with
a bag of coke.
Well, with a little bag of coke statue in his socks or whatever. So anyway, he got caught in Toronto, and then but he played the whole year in 77, 78 season.
Yeah.
Even because he was not convicted yet. So he played, and then in 78, 79 season, he got suspended early on. But then they stack up on a lot of Dean Talafus. They stack up a lot of right winger, and we just played early on the season and all that. And then Donnie came back. So we had like a bunch of right wingers. We're like 6 or 7 right winger. And at the time, there was not 23 men in the roster. We had we could be 28 guys in the lineup. We had like 8 extra guys in the warm up.
Good time for a brawl and warm up.
Yeah, good time for a brawl.
Right?
Jimmy Troy and all that. These guys.
Oh, crazy Jimmy Troy, right?
Yeah, Jimmy,
that's unbelievable.
Yeah, so. Jimmy played a few games, but he made a lot of warm up. I'll tell you that.
Well, those Troy brothers,
Jimmy
and Kevin, they played in St. George de Beauce.
Yeah.
They went up. I couldn't believe it when they went up because no one, and they grew up in my neighborhood, the two of them, and I couldn't believe when I heard they're going up there to play. I knew nothing about junior hockey. But I heard all the stories after how crazy they were, fighting Kevin and Jimmy.
It's unbelievable. Yeah.
Just dropping the gloves all the time. Two American kids they were decent hockey players, but,
but they were tough too.
yeah, tough as nails.
So anyway, that's in the middle of the year, I got into a slump. I was not playing really well or whatever, and I'm not playing that much either. So Fred Shiro came to me and says, I'm going to send you to... for 10 days in New Haven for 10 days, just a conditioning stint. And so I went there for 10 days, played 7 games actually. I played 7 games in the minors, and scored a few goals, got my confidence back, and came back, and then never went back.
So which is good.
It was good. Not that it didn't hurt. We had a lot of people, a lot of older guys and all that. So. Frank Bate was on the team. We had so many.
Yeah, back then it was so hard to break in as a rookie, right? They kept the older guys around. It wasn't like we're going to shuffle you out the door. It took time to work your way in.
Yeah, and I got into lost a little bit of confidence and all that. It was good for me to send me. I went to Hershey. We played to Portland. We played some tough teams and everything. We went there, so it was fun.
Then you go.
It was a good. I played with Bobby Sheehan and Hartford and
the
all
Sheet
that.
Cat, the Sheet
Claude
Cat,
Rose, Claudie, little Rosie.
Yeah,
and it was fun. It was okay. At the time. First, I was a little disappointed, but I took it and I took it as a challenge, and I came back. And actually, one of the first games I came back, I scored 2 goals against Montreal Canadiens in the Forum, and we won 2 goals, 1 assist.
That had to be nice.
I got first star, right. So I said, maybe this is it. That'll help me.
Well, I don't think it did because was Freddie the Frog Shero not a fan of yours or what? Because come back the next year, 78, 79, you had when you got called up, 11 goals, 17 assists, you played 62 games. 79, 80, you played 6 games, and then you ended up getting traded to Colorado. Did you not hit it off with Fred the Frog?
I didn't mind Freddie. Actually, he was pretty good. He was funny, witty. He was like, all of a sudden he would come and just tell you something that you out of the blues. And, what the heck is he
What's
talking
that all about?
One time we were practicing, and I was practicing, and we had he had some friends who were coming over from family or whatever, and we did some extra after. We were just playing 3-on-3 and just fooling around on the ice, And he called me in. He says, "Lou, come here." I come in. He says, "They told me." He says, "My friends told me." He says, "They seems to have a lot of fun out there." I said, "Yeah, it's fun." He says, "I told them." I said, "They should. They make a lot of money."
Yahoo!
Yeah.
Thanks, Freddie.
Thanks, Freddie. Yeah. No, things like that. But he was okay. It's just like the Rangers the year before. We went to the Stanley Cup final against Montreal Canadiens. We lost in 5
Did you
games.
play in that at all? Yeah.
Played in all these games, and
Yeah.
and we for some reason they figured they thought Freddie wanted to have a big, strong defenseman and all that. They wanted the big guy on defense.
Yeah.
Gresh was there. Mike McEwen was there. Dave Maloney and Carol Vanne was the older veteran. And he wanted a top-notch guy or whatever. So they went after Barry Beck and all that. And so they traded me, Patty Key, Mike McEwen, and myself, the 3 guys from the Rangers, and 2 minor leaguer, two guys from the minor
for Big Barry.
For Big Barry, yeah.
Just one
guy. Yeah.
One guy came there. That's unbelievable, right? 5 players for one.
Well, 5 players, yeah.
With the minor league.
That was a kid named Bobby Crawford.
Yeah.
And the other one was the Hulk, Dean Parker, I guess his name was. He didn't play much. He He played a few games in the NHL, not that many. But
was
Bobby
Grapes?
Crawford was from Colorado. Was an American from Colorado. He was just speedy winger, but he didn't play much in the NHL.
Lou,
so
when you
it was only Mike McEwen, myself, and Mike McEwen and Patty Key, really the 3 guys, the 3 main guys.
Was Grapes in Colorado
Yep,
when you?
yep,
Yeah, Grapes was there,
yep.
and
Funny things. When I came in, he couldn't pronounce my name, so he called me Dubonnet. We got that kid there, that young kid, Dubonnet.
Dubonnet. That's a bottle of alcohol, isn't it?
Yeah,
Dubonnet,
that's a
right?
wine.
Dubonnet.
It's a French wine.
Yeah, French wine, right?
French appetizer wine.
A couple good seasons there, and then and you did 24 goals, 26 goals. You had the points, and then it's off to Winnipeg. You become captain of the Winnipeg Jets. How was that? Like, you had obviously the growing pains in New York a bit. You go to Colorado, establish yourself, and when you talk about confidence, and then they name you captain, how cool was that? And who was the GM at the time in Winnipeg? Was it Fergie?
Fergie again.
Good Fergie. Fergie was your man, right?
Well, he left me, but he traded me too.
Yeah.
Well, that was a good thing. What happened is when I came to Winnipeg, it was we had there was a young team.
Christ, you ripped it up in Winnipeg, Lou.
Yeah, my first year was my first year. That was the first year of Dale Howardchuk, Scotty Arniel. They had a lot of new players coming in. Normie was there, Normie Dupont, and then we got clubbered one time
was Serge there, or he was there the year before? Yeah, Serge came when you were there. Jeez,
came in after Christmas because we got clubbered we got clubbered by Minnesota 15-2 or 15-1 or whatever one time in Minnesota. And Serge and Fergie was calling Serge all the time. Come on, Serge.
I remember.
You gotta come. He said, I'm retired. I'm not going anywhere. So finally, we got clubbered from that after that game. And Fergie called him, and he says, Serge says, if Paulette wants to go, I'll go. And Paulette says, I'm ready. Let's go.
Away.
That's when he came. He came in, and he came in after Christmas, just around Christmas. Actually, he spent Christmas in my home when he came in the first time, and just the story. We never lost a game after that against Minnesota. We always beat the heck out of them.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable that Serge come out there. And I remember we played you guys, and I was either suspended or I was hurt. I think I was suspended.
Yeah.
And I was up in the press box, and Serge scored a goal against the Canadiens.
Yep.
And I was in the press box, and they actually had me clapping on the local TV. I was clapping for Serge, right? Because he scored.
Well with
No, yeah, the Journal de Montreal,
the
trader. But big Serge, I mean, I loved him. He was so good to me when I came here. He was awesome.
Actually, he came in like he just changed totally our team. It was unbelievable how good he was. He could have played a few more years.
So you're captain at the time?
Before. No, I was not captain. No. I came in. It was Dave Christian who was the captain.
Okay.
Dave Christian was the captain, and then I kind of took over Dave the year after.
So your second year there.
Yeah, Dave got hurt, and then he got hurt, and then he became a free agent, and he left. And so they gave me the captaincy when he got hurt, and the year after I kept the captaincy and all that.
And Dale was there.
Dale Auerchuk?
Yeah.
Yep, Dale was there.
Dale was there. You're the captain.
Yeah.
And obviously he ends up being the captain, but there was he had to learn the ropes, right? And he has you there as captain. He got Big Serge, who's been around.
Yeah,
it was a big help to him, right?
Yeah.
So he's learning from the two of you.
Yeah, he learned about Dale was a natural born leader, so he just he was only he was 3 years, 21, 22 years old, 21 years old when he got the captaincy because I got traded to Montreal that year for Piercy, Perry Turnbull. But I love being there. I got traded. The best thing happened is I got to Montreal and won the cup the year after.
Hello.
It was great, but I loved it in Winnipeg. A lot of people say, "Where did you like it the most?" Well, I had my best season there.
Yeah, you did.
Captain. You think I liked it? I like it for sure. And I would have stayed there. Just Fergie, for whatever reason, thought he didn't. Well, you remember those days. I had my best season of my career. Was a captain for 2 years, and the team was coming along pretty good. And just wanted to get a little raise on my contract. And Fergie didn't want to give me really any type of whatever
raise. He didn't want to give you a raise.
It took when I got traded to Montreal. It took 10 minutes to negotiate the contract. Serge had it. Everything was done. So anyway, just to make long story, but. I loved Winnipeg. My kids were Dominic, my youngest, was born there. There was a young team, young families, all kids. We all had I was 26, 27, all young family or whatever. It was fun. It was a fun.
So then you're coming home though.
We had in Winnipeg. We faced Edmonton in the first round every year.
Yeah. Well, and that's true. But then how much did it help that you played with Serge that he ended up trading for you when he got the GM job, right? Hello.
Well, there's two things about. I talked to him about it, and so obviously he liked the way I played. He liked the way I was on the ice and all that. And the other thing is he hated Perry Turnbull.
Well, listen, I like Perry, but.
Well, go ahead.
Peeping Perry Turnbull was.
But he hated him, Perry, and the reason why is we played in the same division for a few years, and he played like a year and a half against Perry Turnbull all the time.
And Perry was running them.
And Perry was trying to run him. And how Serge was. He says he cannot turn, and I waited the last second as I just turned, and he kissed the board, but. Now, for some reason, not that he didn't like the person, he didn't like the player. He didn't like the player or whatever. So when he came to Montreal, that was one of his first moves. I guess he let him go or whatever. So Anyway, so he
So
traded.
how was that for you, like coming home? Like you must have been excited as all hell, right?
Oh yeah, I was excited for
Your
sure.
family's gonna get to see you play. You're gonna be
Yeah. It was great. I came to training camp. Claude Mouton called me the first day. He had me going to Sherbrooke to do a press conference. I'm like, Claude was working.
Moot.
And it was just great. It was great. Having my brothers got season tickets for them and everything. So it was good. So everything was good. I was in great shape. I was having from a great coming back, and then we had a good right side with Hans, Flower, you, and Mario, and me, and all that. I could play left or right. Hans was playing left sometimes, and Mark Hunter.
Yeah.
So I think it was good. It's just like early on, I was doing great, and got hurt. I got a little nagging freaking injury every 2-3 weeks. I was missing a week or two, just nagging. I could never got going. The 2 years. Second year, I blew up my knee. The first year, I all kind of little thing, dislocated my collarbone. Pulled a muscle in my hip flexor or whatever, things like that. So it's just a little nagging injury, but while playing with you guys, Flower and everything was a lot of fun. And
right.
That's the year we were starting to rebuild. Chile was there, Chris Chelios, Curver,
Svoboda, all come in, all the young guys.
And all that, yeah.
And then the next year we end up winning the Stanley Cup. I mean, how cool was that? Like, hello.
Well, that's the pinnacle, really. Like you said, we both we got hurt also, but we didn't play all the games. But we were a big part. You were a big part of that team, like unbelievable and all that. And we were a part on our own ways. We just did what we had to do and all that. But winning it was just unbelievable. What was your first thought when you won the cup? What was your when you saw it, like in the room or on the ice there?
Oh, it was incredible. I was bummed out a little bit because I hurt my ankle before the last game, and I wanted to play in that game in Calgary, the clinching game, and I was like, I remember I was up in the suite with all the wives, not the whole game, but I was drinking a lot, some Molson that game, and by the end of the game, I had a little buzz on, and a little buzz on. But I was just so happy we won it, in the culmination of it. But in the same, to be honest, and when I was out in the ice with my suit on, I was a little bummed out. I had my suit on because, like today, they throw their uniforms on and they go out there and get I got a picture with the Stanley Cup with my suit on.
We're gonna come back with that. I was not dressed either. So
you know what I mean?
Yeah, we were full of champagne in our suit and all that, take our coat off and all that, and it's not the same. But my first thought was, even touching the cup my first thought is like all the years that I played, all the coaches that I had, all that's all the sacrifice that my dad even moving and stuff like that, and the thing that crossed my mind on that was that was my first thought. That's what I was asking you.
Yeah. Well, I certainly thought of my parents and family and that stuff, but in the moment picking it up, I was just like, I can't believe how heavy it is. And I was just so happy. But believe me, I thought all that. I called my parents. I remember calling my mom and dad, and they came up for the parade. They were in the parade in that bus. It was just awesome. Yeah. But we have a little story, right? And I never been to Joliette, and Lucien and I'll never forget. We went up there in the Habs back then. Molson used the Stanley Cup as a promotional tool. So we go to your hometown, Joliette, and so funny. We're standing all day taking pictures in the hot sun, and
Actually, I was just telling the story this weekend.
It's so funny.
Irish breakfast, the Irish breakfast.
Oh yeah, how'd that go? Good.
That was great, and I was telling that's the story that I told the people because I know you've done the Irish breakfast.
Yeah.
And proud Irish as you are, so I was telling the story. They loved it and all that.
So we're supposed to go that night with the cup to the Minor Hockey Association on the rink.
No, we were supposed to do the bars. What happened is
bars.
If you remember, I don't want to correct you. It's just that.
Go ahead. Tell the story. You tell the story.
86 was the 200th year of the Molson Brewery celebration, and those days the cup was not distributed to the players after they won.
Yeah, each player didn't get it.
We touched the cup only at the parade, after the parade, and a couple parties that we had with the team. Yeah. After that, we've never seen the cup. You never seen it.
It was gone.
It was gone. Never. But that year, once Molson started, had a promotion with 200 years, and they're going to go around all the cities and some of the cities and
bring the cups,
whatever. So we end up in my hometown. That's great. Yeah. So we end up like you said, under the sun. It was like 30 degrees. We signed about maybe 4 or 5 hours of autographic pictures and
all day.
And after that, we're supposed to go to some bars and make a tour of a couple bars and brasserie or tavern that they called at the time or whatever, and then go back. So
I say to Lucien, Lucien, let's steal this thing.
Yeah, and I said that would be a great idea because we can take it, and I'll go and show it to my dad, who was, like I said, was kind of old already, and he was living in a retired home. So you said, let's go. So okay, I said.
So we may never get this chance again, right? We can bring it home. Yeah. Your father, your kids, my kids, and I'll never forget. You said I'll say I got to go to the bathroom, and you went and you had the convertible, right?
No, I had I can't remember whatever.
Yeah, it was a convertible, and you were supposed to switch cars that day. Remember?
Right. Yeah. So I came back with the car, and I pulled back. And you got the cup.
I took one last picture. I felt bad. There was still a few people in line. I got the cup and I took a picture with it, and they had them 2 Pinkerton guards there. And I got the picture. I took the last picture, and I saw that you were down there. I turned around and just took off, and you had the roof down.
You just threw it in the back and just here we go. Yeah. This story goes. They are pissed.
Oh.
They are pissed, like the organization, the guy from Molson or whatever. So they called the cops. They called the cops and put a roadblock because if you go to
didn't know that.
There's only 2 ways to get to Montreal. Well, 2 ways. There's 2 main roads to get
getting out of Joliette.
So they're sure we're going to Montreal. So they put a roadblock a little further down to make sure that we're coming back.
Well, we went to see your dad, which was awesome.
Dad lived in St. Gabriel-de-Brendan, which is like north of Joliette. So we never went southeast, southwest of Joliette.
We fooled them.
We fooled them. So we went straight north to St. Gabriel, took picture. Remember, we took some picture. The only bad thing was not planned. We didn't have the camera with us. We didn't have the camera because there was no phone there. You can take we ended up taking some pictures of my dad, which I still have. And
that's unbelievable. Like
remember when we were going on St. Gabriel, we stopped and there were some guys finishing their work.
The farmers. Farmers. Yeah, they were all on the hay wagon sitting there.
Again, we stopped, we put a case of beer, and then we just had a beer with them. But again, no picture. We put the Stanley Cup right on the wagon.
Can you imagine having that picture today? Like, at least you got with your dad, which is awesome.
I got with my dad. Then we went back to Montreal. We changed the car on the way back. I went to Montreal, and then we went to.
Too bad they didn't come up with cell phones and. Geez, we could have just got I don't know. I don't even know if you could buy a camera back then. One of them little Kodaks or something.
Probably. I don't even think so.
Right.
So it was. We took some at home, when we got
Yeah.
home. Then we went to your place too.
Yeah. I have that on video still.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. I got
My kids, little Chris was born, right?
Yep.
And that was he was born that year. He was
Yeah.
born in February.
Yeah.
And I got a picture of him sitting in the Stanley Cup, Colleen, and you got your kid. It was
awesome.
that was awome.
It was great.
But then you kept the cup. I went home, and then you got in
Well,
trouble.
we took the cup to Da Vinci's, and then
Yeah.
we
Oh,
went to
and
Preston,
Shapery, and
oh, we were in a few places over there. And,
that was awesome.
and then I went back, and then I always remember that's the story because you were just getting into your new house.
Yeah.
And I don't think the phone was there.
No,
yet. You didn't have
no.
a phone.
They
So
couldn't
I
get in touch with me.
have the cup at home, and at 7 a.m, the call. I got start ringing. I answered. The first one was Claude Mouton. Yeah, where's the cup? So it's right here, Claude. It's in my living room. My youngest son is sitting in it. Dominic is sitting in
Oh,
it.
that was so awesome doing that.
Did you damage it? I said, no, everything is good. Everything's good. 5 minutes later, Mr. Corey called me. He couldn't call you. They said, "Saying, what did you do? You can't do that."
Well, we did
sorry,
it.
we can undo it. No, it's still too late.
Yeah.
No, we didn't do anything harm or whatever.
No, we didn't hurt it, but again, listen,
That's
like
the
I said to you,
that's the
we
best.
may never get this chance again, and we didn't, either one of us.
And soon after, they started distributing the cup to every players that won it, and that's where they changed which is
Yeah, we were big on a couple things. The brawl, we had the brawl to end all brawls. They started sharing the cup after we stole it. Pretty good.
yeah, really.
We changed the league in a lot of ways.
things. Yeah, that's it.
So you go back to New York, and then back in New York, and then I come along, and what was the? I'm curious because I didn't know. I never knew. What was the feeling when you found out I was coming to New York around the boys?
Oh, it was great. Everybody was just really happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we had Rudy Pocek, and he was a tough guy.
Yeah.
But he was not. Well, he was a defenseman. He was
Yeah.
not contributing too much offensively. We didn't have a guy up front that could play your role and be as good as you were. As a player, because we needed some help too. And everybody was ecstatic because finally they didn't have to face you anymore.
Yeah. But you know what? God, I'm so upset about my time there because you talked about earlier, you had a couple injuries, right? And how you lose your. When I got to New York, man, I hurt my knee. I broke my arm twice. I had the hockey hernia. I was a mess. I just got hurt every time I turned the corner.
Well, that's the same thing that happened to me, like I told you, in Montreal. And my first year when I went back to the Rangers, I only played 40 games and I thought my career was done.
Yeah.
For sure it was done. And I still had a contract, but that's the year.
Was Bergie there when you got there?
No, it was Ted Sater.
There you go. And then Bergie came, right?
Bergie came during the summer of '88, I think, 87 or 88.
Yeah.
Summer of '87.
Yeah.
So that summer, I played only 40 games. I had blew up my knee, had surgery in my left knee, broken ankle or whatever. I got a slap shot from Willie Hubert right in the back of the leg or whatever.
Yeah.
All kind of nagging injury again. 40 games. I played 40 games.
But we're getting older.
I'm getting older, and this is I'm done. I'm probably done. That's what I thought. So I stayed that summer. I stayed at my house in New York, and took a course in the university, Sony University, New York State University, and I said maybe I start thinking about retirement almost, but I trained like I never trained in my life. That summer, I was like unbelievable. I said, either I'm going to try to do something different. I trained hard every summer. I was always in good shape coming in training camp. But that summer, it was exceptional. So I turned out, and Bergie came in, but I came in. I was lights out training camp. I scored 2 goals the first exhibition game, and I scored but I had to change my role. I became a defensive player and all that.
Yeah.
But Bergie knew me, and I played hard. He helped me out. That helped me out, and give me a role on the team. And I just stayed, and I played this 5 more years after that.
Because I have fun there in New York. I mean,
fun.
Other than the injuries, I have fun. I love the guys.
Here's a story about Bergie when he came in. And you remember we used to play golf with him, but he comes in and he calls. I went to the press conference, obviously, and all that, and I was living there for the summer. So I come back, and he calls me a couple of days later. He says, "Hey, Lou, you play golf?" I said, "Yeah, I was going to play." So I'll go play 1 year with him. Calls me 2 days later. You want to play golf? I want to play golf. I said, "No, listen. I don't want to be a coach. I don't want to be the
coach's favorite.
Coach's pet. And just no." He says, "No, listen." Says, "Give me the number." I had to call. He called all the players. Gresh was there, and then John Van Beesbrook and all these guys. So he start calling not only me. We called Beezer and Gresh and all that. So and John Davidson, we start playing golf with all the guys and all that. So that's where he started his first year, and that's how he met the players, Bergie. So he kind of got me into golf because I was not playing golf that much.
That's funny. I remember Bergie. What stories? Like I remember for every game, he would give the lineup, and then at the end he would say. And I remember we were playing Edmonton, but he said this every game about every goalie. And he'd go through the whole line, watch this guy do this, blah, blah, blah. And this goalie, Grant Fuhr, he's the worst fucking goalie in the league. And he'd say that about every goalie. So make sure you shoot on him, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And then Bergie, I'll never forget the story of Mark Hardy.
Oh, yeah, that was the best.
When he went around the room and hey, Hardy, I remember you in the Quebec League. You used to be tough on this team. And then that day was skating around in practice, like a day later.
You were tough in the Quebec. You were tough in the Quebec League.
Yeah,
what happened to you? Come on. When James Patrick skates around.
Yeah.
Crazy leg. He was skating around backwards, forward, and Bergie just ran.
And he hit Bergie. Bergie went up, hit his elbow, and then he actually hit his head too. And he's sitting on the ice going, fuck. And then Hoppo comes up and says that. He said, Bergie, I remember you in the Quebec League. You used to be tough. The boys, he said, fuck off, Hardy. What fun times.
One of the best lines.
Some of the best lines that...
When you put the lobster in his bag and he had a heart attack.
I bought a lobster at the airport. I think we're in Boston. I bought a little, like a cheap, but the smallest one I could find. But anyway... And we get on the bus, and Bergie had his carry bag, and he was talking to someone. Anyway, I come up behind him and unzipped his bag and put the lobster in there. And then I think Cash was in on it. I said to Cash, I said, tell him, ask him for a razor or a toothpaste or something, borrow. And he went in his bag, fucking lobster. All the boys were howling.
Cash was a great guy. Bergie was just screaming. I thought he had a heart attack.
I'll never forget. Phil came to me. He said, "Can Lafleur still play? Can he score 20 goals?" He asked me. I said, "Oh yeah, he could score 20." And Guy ended up coming back and he ended up with 18. He got hurt that year, but like we had the opportunity to play with him in Montreal, in New York, both of us. You played with him in Quebec also, but it was awesome for me because. Listen, you went there as a young kid, not speaking English, just a little bit, got to learn the language. Guy knew English, but Guy never played outside of Montreal. And to see him in New York, what he put up with here, everybody always grabbing at him, autograph, picture, this and that. And then he came to New York. It was so cool to see him play the game and on the outside, be able to kind of relax a little bit,
Yeah,
right? Wasn't
really.
that cool?
Yeah,
Like,
really.
people don't realize that.
We used to walk the city, and there's a few people who would recognize him, but not.
Yeah.
He was like just a normal person, really, walking in New York and all that.
Yeah.
I remember one year, we used to go to Jones Beach or whatever. I took him and his family to Jones Beach one day. We spent the whole day there. And you couldn't believe it. The beach right outside of New York. So you can see the city right in the back. Beautiful beach. And nobody asked him for an autograph. Nobody went over. He was playing with Mark and Marty, and just having a old time. Just like he loved that. That's one of the. I love Flower. I missed him too. He
was awesome. Like, awesome teammate, awesome guy. And it's funny, when we're there, we play with him, and guys who didn't, knowing that Guy was coming in, they were like, right? It was so cool. And then he ends up playing with Marcel.
Yeah.
Which was,
To all of them, to the best.
I'll be honest.
Yeah.
As a GM, if I was a GM, I don't know if I would have made either of those moves. You want to win hockey games. Those guys were older, right? I'm glad I got the opportunity to play with them. But when you talk from a winning standpoint, they weren't the best moves. But I was certainly happy that I got an opportunity to play with those guys.
No, for sure. Yeah, that was a great. Well, Marcel came in the year before, and he was playing really, really well. And then Flower comes in, they were the best of friends, but they were always the best rivals.
Right.
Two in the draft in 1971. So, but and then Flower kind of took over Marcel, and that was kind of a,
Marcel didn't win a cup. Guy wins all the cups, right? Like all that stuff. Right?
Yeah, you're right. On site, when you look at it, you bring those two guys together at the same time, at the end of their career, same age.
It was pretty cool.
38 to 37, 38 years old.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a little different.
Yeah.
But
sure.
I'm sure glad I played with Marcel too. Like Beaver was great, and so was Flower. Flower is Flower, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, Lou, when you look back, obviously, I'd say your best year in hockey, it had to be '86, right? Winning the cup.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Take that one out. Take that one out. What was your best year in hockey? Take that one out. If you have to pick another year.
Well, the year I was captain in Winnipeg, personally, not team-wise, but personally. The other thing is going to the Stanley Cup as a 21 years old was
right.
Pretty, even if I played 7 games in the minor that year, but I was like, I really enjoyed playing. I had the first experience of playing.
And to go back to that, right? Did you have that feeling? Like, honestly, I had the feeling when we won the cup in '86. Oh, we'll be back next year.
Yeah.
Did you have that feeling as a young kid?
Well, we did it. We did, but they traded me after 6 games.
well, you weren't there. But did you have that feeling like I'll get there someday? I'll win this thing.
I tell you what, this was the feeling. But Phil Esposito before the last game or before the playoffs start, this is Phil Esposito, even Carl Van Ness said the same thing. Like, guys have been to the Stanley Cup final. It says, listen, this is a chance. You think we're going to be back next year, but there's no guarantee. So let's make sure that we give it our best effort, because if you think it's going to happen again next year, it might not happen. It might not happen. Actually, it happens 8 years later for me. So it's in some points, some people have never happened to go to the finals once or twice. So anyway.
So Lou, if you could go back and talk to a young Lucien DeBlois just starting out in the NHL, what would you tell him? The tough one, right? Yeah, what would you tell him?
I would tell him to just go and play. Don't try to please anybody. Just play.
Yeah.
It was like I was confidence-wise. Sometimes I was having some issues and all that. I might have some anxiety issues a little bit too early on. Like but just go play, have fun. I was trying to be too perfect sometimes, and not.
Well, and it's funny to address that, and you always, I get the just go play, I get it, but as players, you do worry about it because you got to worry about impress, especially back then. You had to impress the coach, you had to impress someone. If you didn't, where's your ass going? You're going to the minors, or you're not playing. You're up in the stand. So I get that, and it can create that nervousness and anxiety. So it's not like, you're probably no different than anybody else. But I get it. Just go play and do your best, right?
Yeah. The thing with me, like they always consider me like to be a really offensive player, and I should have in junior I was, but in pros I could score 20, 25, but like 30 was like I was pushing. But I was a good defensive player. But early in my career, they never used me as a defensive player. Like then I started killing penalties only when I was in Winnipeg or Colorado a little bit. My second year in Colorado, so that was like 4 years in the league. They never used me in that role, and I was because I was not playing power play all the time. So I was playing second or third power play, and I didn't have a role on the team. So when I start killing penalties, I'll give me a role. And that's what I'm saying about playing. So instead of I said playing is just like sometimes I put so much pressure on myself that it kind of stopped me from playing.
You grip the stick too much and
grip the stick too much, trying to be too cute, too perfect try to be pleased with my teammates, the coach or whatever. Just go play. Make a mistake, you'll be benched. Go back and just learn from it. Don't try to be a 30 years old when you're 20 years old or 19 years old. Or whatever.
It's when you look back, it's certainly easy in thinking of that. Yeah, just go play but when you're a young kid, you don't think that way. You're always trying to impress someone. You're trying to get better. You're trying to be a regular in the lineup. All those things. So there's a lot of variables. That's
what I like about sometimes they talk about the young kids when they come in, they're cocky a little bit, cocky a little bit and all that. Well, that's like Hudson, he goes in, Hudson, you see the kids in Montreal, like he goes in and just play. He was going to screw it up, and he's not perfect and all that.
Yeah. He makes mistakes, but he gets back out there. That would never happen with us, right?
No, he's an exceptional. Got some, but he goes and play. That's all. He goes and play. He plays. And anyway,
I gotta ask you.
Yep.
And I'd be bummed out. I had all them injuries in New York. I played just under 700 games, over 700 with playoffs and all that. But I always wanted to play 1,000 games. And I would have been close if I didn't have all those injuries like crazy. You, my friend, because we retired the same year. You come in a year before me. You had 993 games. Were you bummed out you couldn't get them last 7 in?
Yeah,
1,000 games, a big number. Like you're there.
Well, towards the end, it was a big number. I missed a lot of games the year before in Toronto. I got in the Charlie horse. I got infected. I had to get a surgery so I missed the rest of the season.
Right.
And I would have blown it the year before or whatever. See if I would have played. But anyway, to make a long story,
7 games.
I got
7.
They treated. There's a story. Here's the honest, true story. Is that they traded me in the last 12 games of the season from Toronto to Winnipeg again. So I'm in Winnipeg, and Mike Smith is the GM there. So we got beat against Vancouver that year, in 7 games. And we got the exit party, the exit meeting after you go and see the GM and all that. And I knew Mike Smith since my years in New York because he was Fergie brought him in at the time. In New York, 1977. So I know Mike. So anyway, so talking to Mike and all that, and he says, "Listen, I know you're close to 1,000 game, and he says, but he says I want you to think about it. He says I would like you to be a coach, a player coach in the American League for Moncton." And you're going to be going with, I can't remember the coach at the time there. He says, you're going to be coaching there and you're going to play there. I says, oh, yeah, that's great. I says, I know I was towards the end. I'm 35 years old. So I said, that sounds great. I said, yeah. The only thing I says, I'd like to play my 7 games. Let's play 10 games. I'll play 10 games, and then I'll go and 9 games, 7 games, 10 games. So he says, well, let me think about it, but I'll call you and we'll discuss that this summer. I said, okay. But I says, or I go down, you call me back. That's kind of call me back for 7 games. So I said, maybe not or whatever. So I said, I'd rather play. But so anyway, so we left, shake hands, left. We were supposed to talk till summer. I give him a call in August, and he says, well, we're not going this way anymore. So he says, and it was like late, mid-August or whatever. So I thought I
changed my mind. Yeah.
I changed my mind. I said, you could have called me. You could have at least advised me or whatever.
Yeah.
So at the time, I didn't have any agent or whatever. So I got he made the change. The funny thing about that, I mean, I know now that why he did it and all that, but the funny thing about it is like that's the first year that Timo Solani came in.
Yeah,
with the Jets. That's the same year. So Timo came in, but if you look at his stats, I think he didn't score a goal in his first 15 games or whatever, and he scored 72 that year.
It's unbelievable, right? 72.
It's unbelievable. So
took him a while. It took him a while to get adjusted.
It took him a while to get going. When he got going, it was okay. But that's anyway. So that's the year. Anyway, to Mike Smith. That's the year that Mike Smith made a statement in the NHL. He said that there's not enough talent. There's no talent in Canada or in the United States anymore. So that's the year he drafted 10 Russian out of 15 rounds. I guess they had. He had 10 Russians. But he had some good ones.
How'd that work out, Mike?
He had some good ones anyway. But anyway, so I got screwed up, and that was too late. Everybody was packed and all that. So I packed it. Well,
Lucien, listen, you had a great career.
It was fun.
Winning a Stanley Cup, you kidding me? We had great times together as teammates, Montreal, New York.
We played like 4 years together.
It was awesome for me when I went to New York, knowing you were there. Someone I knew, because walking into a new situation, it can be uncomfortable. Guys accept you right away, but
and all these guys are so.
We had a blast. We had a lot of fun together, and honestly, that day we stole the Stanley Cup together. It's just like that's a memory, especially when I think of your dad. I mean, for us, it's a great memory. Our kids, back in our families, we got to share it with. But you and your dad that day, to see him and the tears running down his face when you brought that Stanley Cup there, and he was. He wasn't long for this world at that time. So it was just unbelievable to be part of that, right? It was so cool. Lucien, listen, thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you at the second annual Chris Nilan Golf Classic. I love your shirt, by the way. What a logo, huh?
Yeah, man, nice.
That's a comfortable shirt, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Really nice.
Really nice and soft. And we got to find another soft one for this year.
Yeah.
So.
That's good. Thank you for having me, Knuckles. It's a privilege to know you and have you as a friend. I tell you that. I love you, buddy.
Well, likewise. Love you too, Lucien. Thanks, bud.
Okay.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Raw Knuckles with Chris Nilan on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.